Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new webinar from Webinaire. My name is Hervé Baou. I'm the International Sales Manager since 9 years now. I'm glad to virtually welcome you in our new facility here in Coventry, the factory, actually factory number 2. Behind me, you can find some grinding machines and maybe some of my colleagues who produce the best cutters you can find on the market. Today, we talk about the AltoBasso. So it may be a strange slang word or Italian stylish naming, but let me explain you what that is. It's actually an innovation in the hobbing process. This process actually was brought to us as a challenge from one of our customers in the watch industry. So let's see how everything has been developed. So please have a look at an example of the profile our customer asked us to produce. With such a profile, you see the height of the process and the thickness on the bottom leads to a difficult way of cutting. As mentioned before, this request came from the watch industry. Therefore, you need to imagine that the diameter and dimension of this wheel is really small. We talk about less than 5 millimeter in diameter. And the red arrow you see on the bottom of the teeth is something like 0.03 millimeters, so tiny. However, due to the profile height, and the same issue can also happen in the larger dimension. What kind of problems? Let's see about it. So for this kind of dimension, you can imagine the problems are multiple. As you can see on the left-hand side, you see some material removal on the top of the jade, which is randomly performed. This is due to a bending of the teeth while cutting, and the cutting next teeth is coming and cuts the top of the wheel. On the right-hand side, where on this green picture, you see a crenulation. It's the type of bird that you can see on one side of the teeth. So it's a typical problem for that kind of teeth. And lastly, and most of the time, while hobbing this kind of parts, the teeth comes out of production too thin. So it's a deformation and out of spec for this kind of teeth. So the customer, so we could do the hub for producing this kind of part, but as explained, the part comes out of the production out of tolerance. The customer came to us and said, your hub or your cutter is not good. So we asked them to bring them back the cutters, and we found out that all the dimensions of the hub were okay and in good shape. But as you can see on the picture, there is a lot of stress while cutting the complete teeth. So we had a full process of brainstorming and research in order to find the cause and the root cause of this bending during the hobbing process. So we did some simulation, and you can see it on the picture. So this finite element simulation showed us that there are a lot of force that are applied over the entire height of the tooth. And most of the stress is, you can imagine, so it's all over the teeth, but it leads to at the minimal distance of the tooth, you have the most stress. So where you can see the green color on the back, the bottom of the teeth. So this means that during a traditional hobbing process, the leverage arm is so important that the tooth bends and is machined in a random way. So what came out of this brainstorming was to simply reduce this leverage. How to do this? So that's where we came with the AltoBasso way. It's actually a cutter in 2 parts. So we will first do the larger parts to make the tip of the wheel, of the profile, basically. So you see after the first part on the left-hand side of the hub, it will be done in this shape. And on a second step, we will do the bottom way. So the alto from the top, it's in Italian, and the basso from the bottom. So AltoBasso. So it's a 2-step process allowing you to produce this kind of gears of profile without bending the tooth while producing it. Here you see the force on the part while cutting. So it's clear from the example on the street that the lower arm makes the cut much more robust. So it's clear when you machine the top of the tooth, you have the stress on the left. So the AltoBasso has a very short lever arm, and therefore the tooth doesn't bend. On the right, since the ogive already finished, so the top is already produced at the first pass, the basso cut, so the lower part, has a very low rest point, and therefore the tooth doesn't bend either. This is indeed what happened with our customer, and this is why the AltoBasso is the solution for this particular shape and your high and thin teeth. So basically the force X, which we have considered to be the chip removal force, and which is applied on the tip of the tooth, as in traditional hobby, but logically bends the tooth a lot on the standard way. The same for applied to the AltoBasso lever point bends the tooth much less, and that's what we can see on the two simulation. So on the left-hand side, once more for the first cut, the Alto, and on the right-hand side, the Basso, where you can see still there are some stress, but much lower than on only one pass. So this is how the AltoBasso hubs drawings looks like. So that's what you will get from us. And you can find all the information in order to validate it and make it good for production, for us to launch the production. An additional trick was imagined to even help you to speed up the setup time. The distance between the two sides of the hubs is very precise and multiple of a pitch, usually 2. So it allows you to simply give the exact shifting distance to reach the position to cut the second part, the basso part. If needed, we also can send you the DXF file for the Alto cutting profile. So at Webinaire, we try to always be one step ahead of the products. So you may be familiar with our burr-free cutting methods, the duplex cutters, for which we have dedicated a webinar that you can find on our website. Actually, what we did was to combine these two technologies in the same product. So it makes an AltoBasso duplex. So you can see how this would looks like. And actually, we can grind it pretty easily in our homemade grinding machines. So you can produce really thin and high profile without burrs in 3 steps: the Alto, the Basso, and the so-called duplex parts. And here as well, you can see what's the drawing you will get from our drawing we will send you for validation before production. Here as well, I mentioned the distance between the two parts of the Alto and Basso. It's also true for the duplex. So you have a multiple of the pitch between each steps of production, so that you can easily set up the machine. So if you have this kind of gears with fine and high teeth to produce, then the AltoBasso hub is your solution. So I do come now towards the end of my presentation. I don't know if you do have any question on that. Oh yes, I do have 2 questions. Okay. So is this principle only applicable to the hubs? Actually, no, because we can do this for all the kind of the cutting tools we do have. So you might be familiar with teeth by teeth or tooth by tooth cutting tools, the Z-square as we call it. So we can have it could be like a T-cutter with two steps for doing the Alto and the second step to do the Basso, and we even can imagine to have a third stage to make the duplex, so to remove the hubs. What is the price of an AltoBasso compared to a standard one? I was sure we were coming to the price question. So if you do have a diameter, let's say 6 by 8, so standard hub with by 6 by 8, you have one price. it will be the same price for an AltoBasso of diameter 6 times 2 parts of 4 millimeters, so 2 times 4 millimeters. The only thing will be that you will have an additional one-time setup cost for programming the second shape of the cutter. So it will be the same piece price. The setup cost will be a bit more expensive. Will the transition between the alto and basso cutting leave a distinct line on the part? That's a good question. Actually, no. Why is that? Is that the size? Let me go back on the parts here. So on the left-hand side, you have the blue part, and the blue part will be cut, but it will be some microns above the dimension, above the profile of the green part. So we will simply cut a little bit more of the complete profile actually with the second pass. So you will not have that much or practically no stress on the cutting, on the second cut, because the tip is already done. But you still will remove some microns in order to make the profile completely clear. Does this type of hobbing require a symmetric profile? Actually, the answer is for hobbing, yes. So a standard cutting by generation, a standard hob, yes. But we can also do this AltoBasso on our other types of cutting, like the index or whatever. So you can also have a non-symmetrical profile for producing this kind of, to use this kind of technology, the AltoBasso. I have another question. Does the process produce consistent tip diameter on both lengths? So I think you do mention, you are pointing if the cutter is topping part. If this is the case, I mean, we can do both, but generally for the really tipped, really profile, way of cutting the gear is a topping way. Yes, tip is involved from diameter. Well, we can do involved or non-involved. We can do really. We can produce any kind of shape. I have here another question. Just need to have my mouse on the right side. Any specific lubrication required or recommended chip removal? It's I'm a bit over question on that part. It's nothing different than the standard hobbing, so I would say no specific lubrication. No, not on this part, because it's really a two steps hobby, so it won't change anything on the hobby process. I don't know if there are some other questions. Thanks a lot for this. It's always good to have a communication and a bidirectional discussion. It's much more appreciated. Okay, so if there is no other, let me just conclude. So here you will find my contact information. I really hope you have enjoyed this subject. Do not hesitate to cut gears with Webinaire cutting tools, and above all, to contact us in order to find the best solution together. You can find my contact information and also on our website, lbsa.ch. And please subscribe to our communication channels you can see here. Most precisely to follow us on LinkedIn, where there is a lot of information that is published. Thanks once more a lot. You were really many people online. Thank you for following me this afternoon, and let me add that I hope to see you soon. To take care and enjoy machining with Webinaire cutting tools.